have to be a good reason for me to do something like that again. For example, I wouldn't hesitate to do it if I needed to see where the strawberries are. However, until I do, I am keeping 4 legs on the ground. So now you know who I am and what I'm about. We can go on an adventure. It'll be good, I promise you. Trust me. Okay, so I'll read chapter 2 from Percy next. Chitty Diaper, I'll read Percy Polar Bear chapter 5 on Saturday. Hi Laura, you just missed. I've been reading through my chapter book, Harry the Tortoise is on his way. It's one of a 3-part series called Animal Adventures, whereby I tell the story from the point of view of a quirky creature to all the thoughts to tell of that creature's thoughts. And alongside Harry the Tortoise, I've got Bryony the Blue-Footed Booby and Percy Polar Bear Changing Times. Percy Polar Bear Changing Times is a more kind of realistic and a bit sadder because of the state of the world for polar bears at the minute, who may be facing extinction. But that's about the bit in here about Bryony the Blue-Footed Booby. And I'm also working on a new book that I will share details of, and I'll probably read live before I release it, and that's Alfonso the Giant Anteater. So, yeah, Percy Polar Bear's available on Amazon, as is Harry the Tortoise is on his way. Just type in Harry the Tortoise is on his way in brackets, and that should take you to Harry the Tortoise. Like I say, I've kept the illustrations, and just to let you know, there's a song in this book in chapter 5. I've kept the illustrations quite simple and in black and white in order to make the book affordable, because I always think reading should be affordable. It shouldn't be an elitist pastime. So I'll always release a copy of my book in the best format that I can do. So, hi Virgo Sassy, I've just finished reading. I've read the whole of chapter 1 of my book. I did have quite a few people on, but they all left. It's a chapter book it's to introduce people to chapter books, so it's from 7 years old upwards, but it also contains some adult humour. Oh, hi Shitty Diaper, I just commented I'll be reading Percy Polar Bear tomorrow, but I just wanted to introduce people to Harry the Tortoise because that was the first one. Bryony the Blue-Footed Booby is the second in the series, and Percy Polar Bear is the final one, but there's no relationship between them all. What draws them all together is that each story is told from the point of view of a quirky creature about their life and their habitat. Yeah, hi Karen, I wrote 3 books. This is part of a 3-book series I mentioned, if you can see there. That's Harry reading Bryony the Blue-Footed Booby. I'm working on another one. And the reason I wrote the book was to introduce children to chapter books. So the reading age is aimed at 7-8 years old upwards, because there's quite a lot of studies that show if you can encourage independent reading, so I write it from the point of view of a tortoise, if you can encourage independent reading, it promotes literacy. There are still, but people get to greater ages than 7, 8, 9 or 10 and are not able to read. So that is my main motivation and my main purpose for writing this book, to make chapter books fun. But that said, even though the actual age starts around 7 and 8, there's quite a bit of humour, a little bit like The Simpsons, especially in my latest book, Percy Polar Bear, that adults will appreciate. And I know I go back and revisit some of the books from my childhood, Sharon's Web and things like that, and I pick up different things. So yeah, the reason I've chosen to introduce people to Percy, to Harry the Tortoise, is because this edition, which I'm selling signed copies on Etsy, but this particular edition not signed on Amazon, because I've kept the illustrations in black and white. They are actually watercolour illustrations, and the ebook has a full watercolour if that's what you want, and that's only £1.99, but it's £4.50 because I've not used colour or anything like that, because I want these books to be accessible and be affordable to people. Hi Rose, you've just missed the reading. I've read from chapter 1 of Harry the Tortoise, but I have read it previously and all chapters are on my YouTube. It's a book designed to introduce people to reading, but also to get people to see things from other points of view. And it's also about the nature of friendship. So as you can see, the look of these three creatures are completely different, but they're all friends, and it's just to encourage people that friendship is not size or form specific. Friendship is about having a connection, and this is what I want to try and encourage through my work. Hi Karen, yeah, the colour one of Harry the Tortoise, the hardback's colour, and there is a paperback colour version also. It's because, as you can see from the illustrations, they're quite glossy, and I need to, in order to publish that, is quite expensive, so I have to charge £6.99 for them. That might make less than £1 on them. So this is the reason when I've introduced the colour, the black and white one, because they're it is essentially about the story. But yeah, and all my other books as well, because I said the series, you don't have to read one then the other. They're all standalones. They're just about different creatures. This is the odd one out in terms of it's a family pet. But hi Rose, but Bryony the blue-footed booby set in the Galapagos. I've not got a copy to hand, but I'll do a different live about Bryony, and all versions of that are in colour. This is just me trialling it to make it more accessible to people. Okay, if there's no further questions, do you think I'll ever write adult books at some point? Well, it's upstairs. Before I wrote, so I used to teach English as a foreign language, and this is where, in Italy, this is where my idea for stories like this come from, because not only are they good for young readers, but they're also good to introduce English as a foreign language. But before that, I was a playwright, so I have published books of my plays. If you go and look at some of my videos, they're 4 plays, and they're written in Northern English dialogue, so they're not for everyone, but actually they're my best-selling thing. But the plays about different events that have impacted Northern English life. I live in Warrington, but there's a town next called Wigan,